Death has come to your little town, Sheriff.
Have you ever felt a knife cut through human flesh and scrape the bone beneath?
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Be my victim.
You are all my children now.
Hello, my name is Austin Torres, and welcome to the Would You Die podcast, the show where we talk about our favorite horror monsters and villains. Today, I am joined by not one, not two, but three incredible guests to talk about their upcoming horror film, The Boy from Below. First, we have an award-winning filmmaker known for films like The Wicked One and Phantom Funworld. He is a writer, he's a director, and a producer, as well as the founder of Jonestown Films. His passion for storytelling is contagious, and seeing him thrive in the independent horror world is inspiring. Our first guest is the writer and director of The Boy from Below, Tory Jones.
Is this a video thing or is this just a sound thing?
This is actually it
I don't want to be waving and it's like a
but it is normally a sound thing, but everyone has pretty good video, so we could decide that later. But
All right,
yeah, normally
well-
audio.
well, thank you for having me on. I'm excited. And this is actually the first time that us three have did anything promotion wise together for The Boy from Below. So it's pretty cool.
I am so excited. Our second guest, we have an incredible talent whose love for the horror genre and insane work ethic inspires me. They are the founder of Final Ghoul Films, and you can see them in a multitude of horror features, such as Phantom Funworld, Wolf Hollow, and The Demons Within. As well, shameless plug, my upcoming short film, Spider. We have one of the leads from The Boy from Below, Spooky Madison.
Hello.
Yes, I'm so happy you're finally on my show, which is funny because we've worked together first and you haven't been on my show yet. But when we first met, it was for you to be on my show.
Yes.
We did it a little backwards, but that's okay because you're here now and I'm super excited. And last but not least, our third guest, we have someone who literally does it all. She acts, she sings, she streams horror video games. She's a co-host of the podcast It's All Geek to Me and the co-founder of Late Bloomer Productions. You might know her best as the Clown Cafe hostess from Terrifier 2. And loyal listeners of the Would You Die podcast will remember her first appearance on this show where we talked about Jennifer's body. We have the other lead from The Boy from Below, Leah Voysey.
Hello, I'm happy to be here. Happy to be back.
Welcome back. I can't, it's funny because this is a podcast and words is like my job, but words are hard to come by how excited I am that this is happening.
Yeah, me too.
Me three.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Let's talk about The Boy from Below. I'm going to pass it off to Tory first. What is kind of like the inception of this film?
So the inception of this film, really the film that sort of gave me my start was a little film called The Wicked One, which was made for like under $10,000. And that film sort of took on a life of its own, really. We didn't expect any of the stuff that happened with it to happen. I mean, it made for 10 grand. But to this day, that film continues to be my highest grossing film that I've ever released. It's made more money than all my other work afterwards, which is insane. And so I always knew that I wanted to come back and reintroduce this character in an original storyline. If you watch The Wicked One, I mean, it's basically Halloween with another killer, which it was meant to be like sort of a tribute to that. But it's Halloween. So this is not Halloween, and this is more original and goes in a lot of different directions, and I think is going to bring a breath of fresh air to genre fans in more than one way. Yeah, always knew I wanted to get back to this moment and reintroduce this character and do it bigger and better, and that's what we're getting ready to do.
That's awesome. Spooky, how did you get involved with this?
Tori told me that if I wasn't involved, I would be murdered. And I obviously had to not turn that down. No, I'm just kidding. I worked with Tori in Phantom Funworld, and turns out we don't hate each other afterwards. And I decided to audition for his movie that was originally called Scream for Summer, and he liked my audition. And then when Scream for Summer kind of transitioned into Boy from Below, I kind of followed that transition as well. And here I am. I play Quinn Curtis.
That's awesome. And how about you, Leah? How did your involvement with The Boy from Below start?
So actually, it was Spooky that got me involved with this film. Knowing my work from Late Bloomer Pictures and Terrifier 2, Spooky gave my name to Tory, and then Tory reached out to me, and I am now playing Max. Originally, he reached out to me for a different character, but then the script got rewritten, and in those rewrites, I got a different part, and I'm stoked. You know, the first time I read the script, I fell in love with the character, so I'm very happy to be playing Max.
I'm so excited. It's funny though, because this film has yet to be shot at the time of this recording and of the episode's release. You guys are still, you still have your Indiegogo campaign going, which seems really, it seems like it's doing well.
Yeah,
It is.
it's doing great actually. And as of today, we have 2 new investors who just joined the team, which is always exciting. And I have a phone call with a third after this is over tonight. So we are for sure going to be shooting. We're not going to be pushing anything back. So we are for sure going to camera in 2.5 months. That's where we're at right now as far as production goes.
And because on the Indiegogo, we hit 80K by the end of last weekend, Dylan, who's in our film as well, is going to get a bikini wax. And that's the most exciting part about this whole thing. He promised, he said, if we hit 80K, I will get a bikini wax. He said he scheduled the appointment. So good luck to him.
He showed me the appointment card, and the woman was very confused.
Oh.
And so he basically, because I have to go with him, I'm going with him on Sunday to film
I'm
it.
so sorry.
Yeah. But she was like, "You're getting a bikini wax?" And he said, "Yeah." And she said, "You have a penis?" And he said, "Yeah." And so on his receipt, it says bikini wax with penis.
That's so good. Oh my God.
That's hilarious.
Oh man, I
Yeah.
can't wait.
Are they going to let him record it?
Yeah, I'm going in there to film it.
Film is facial reactions. I think that's what we want.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna look at his penis. Oh.
Oh man.
I don't think you'd be able to share that video on too many social media sites if you did.
No, OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Make sure the volume is up though, because we want to hear the noise.
Yeah,
and
the
then
ripping.
the scream.
The
Yeah.
rip.
It's gonna be very 40-year-old version. I can't. Yeah, it's gonna be good.
That's awesome. I want to talk about your characters, Spooky and Leah, which earlier, I think this week, I'll be honest, time is like an enigma that I'll never truly understand. So it could have been a while ago. It could have been yesterday. I don't remember. But you guys had a video on Leah's YouTube channel, and you guys
that was
talked
Monday.
about
Yeah.
Monday. Okay, cool. I was right. It was this week.
Yeah,
I'm proud
it
of
was.
myself. This film is highlighting a queer relationship. I think that's really cool because that's not something we see in a lot of, I was going to say indie horror movies, but honestly, just not a lot of movies.
Yeah. It's definitely something that is getting better, but it can always be even better than that. So I like that we're getting this opportunity to tell that kind of story, and that Tory has really given both of us a lot of creative control in how to tell that story, which I think is an incredible show of allyship. And I think that fans are really going to appreciate that. And it's going to tell a story in a way that a lot of people haven't been able to experience before, which I think will be nice.
So I actually think that when it comes to queer relationships or just queer storylines in general, you get a lot of coming out stories, and this one is not a coming out story. It's just a is story, which is unique in its own right. And I'm really excited because this will be my second LGBTQ role ever in my entire life. And I'm honored that it's Tory's, because Tory and I have become great friends, and he's definitely a safe space, to explore that storyline with. So yeah, I think it's going to be a great adventure.
I think that's awesome. And I'm very excited for that. Tory,
Yes,
for
sir.
people who maybe who haven't seen the Wicked one yet, because you mentioned that this is kind of like a reboot of the character, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you kind of explain for those who might not be familiar with that character, like what's his deal?
So with this film, we're playing with a lot of different themes. One of the themes, obviously, that they just talked about is the relationship between the two leads. Another thing that we're sort of doing throughout this film is we're sort of given commentary on horror, and everyone has all these different characters have all these different opinions about horror movies in general. But the boy from below, formerly the Wicked one, he also has an obsession with horror movies. And I don't want to give away the why because that would spoil
Okay.
the movie. But he certainly has an obsession with it, and it's almost a fate thing that he stumbles upon these two lovely actresses as he does in the story, and then begins to pursue them. If I could sum him up, he is a 7 foot tall, unstoppable force. He does have a personality. He's not a blank slate. He's not, just Frankenstein walking throughout this movie. Now, he's not really like Art the Clown sadistic, and like he's not pouring salt on wounds or anything like that. He does there
You
is
got
some
it.
there is some stuff he does that, is like really like hardcore, but there's no, like, he doesn't have time or probably the patience to sit around and, like torture someone for hours. Like he's more of like a hit it and quit it kind of guy, in the sense that he's going to kill you and keep going.
Yeah.
Because the only thing that he is concerned with in this film is getting to one of these characters, and whichever one that is, you'll have to see the movie to
Who
find out.
knows?
Right.
Well, we know, but
Yeah.
I don't
So
know.
and I think too, like with horror in general, usually people they project whatever that may be, whatever the issue is, onto their villain. So I think in a lot of ways, he represents a lot of different things in this movie. And, whether these two overcome him or not remains to be seen. But there will be a face-off between those three characters in the finale of the film. I'm excited to see that.
That's going to be awesome, especially because I know Spooky, you're kind of a badass. So it's going to be really exciting to see you in that kind of battle scene. And Leah, actually, you are too, from what I know, because I think both of you are really athletic.
Yeah. We've already talked about going to the gym while we're shooting. We're like, we hope there's a gym nearby. We both expressed that. So yeah, I think that'll be, I've never done any sort of like battle scene in a horror. I mean, the only horror movie I was in was Terrifier. And I took my death in stride. I was like, give it to me. Like I was smiling through it. So like, actually it's right behind me. Yeah, I was like smiling through it. So I didn't get to do any like cool like combat stuff with it. So with this, that'll be fun to like actually, try to be involved in the killer's takedown.
That wasn't really you on fire, was it?
No, I had a stunt double.
Okay.
Jenna Helmuth was her name.
I was going to ask you that. I was like, I wonder if that was really her, if she did her own
No,
stunt.
you need like special training for that. And I mean, that day was crazy. There was like the fire department and everything was there. No, it was not me on fire. I just got to watch.
Spooky, what is your relationship with stunts and doing horror movies?
I do all of my own stunts, and usually just in my last film that I did called Fiber Burn, I was brought on not only as like
not
the
to be
actor.
confused with Saltburn, by the way.
Not to be confused with Saltburn. Yeah, no. Actually, I think Fiber Burn might be gayer than Saltburn. But I did all my own stunts in Fiber Burn, but then they also brought me in for other scenes as a stunt coordinator. I was trained in karate, so I kind of know how to do things. And they let me help other actors kind of choreograph fights. And that was really, really fun. So I'm excited to do that in this film. Not choreograph the fights, but, hit something.
That's gonna be such a fun battle to watch. I'm really excited for that. People who are following the film probably know this already, but you have a lot of, in addition to you, Leah and Spooky, you guys have a lot of horror icons joining you in this cast.
Yes.
Yeah, we do.
Pretty nervous about it, honestly.
No, it's
Well,
gonna be great.
there's Dee Wallace, there's Felissa Rose, there's Richie Ramone, there's Tommy Lee Wallace. I'm going off the top of my head, so I'm sure
Mhm.
No,
there's
that's them
a
all.
few
Yeah.
more. Okay.
I think you got everybody. Me, I
Chaney.
think. Yes.
Oh, Chaney.
I was so close.
Yeah, it's definitely a packed house.
If you could see my house right now, boxes continue to arrive every day of VHSs,
Oh,
and
wow.
I'm going to have a healthy VHS collection after this is done. But I mean, oh, you can't even see it. Never mind.
You're
I
holding up
hold up.
nothing.
Yeah, I'm like,
Put it in
So-
front of your chest. Maybe that'll work. Yeah. Oh, there it is. E.T.
Oh,
I definitely
E.T..
owned that VHS growing up, and I
That isn't
watched
gonna work.
so much.
Hey.
oh.
Nice.
Halloween. I mean, there is a producer on this film named Lindsay, and she just continues to send me VHSs. So my house there's just boxes piled to the ceiling right now of VHSs. But I'm very excited for this film. This is like, I feel like this is the one in a lot of different ways. For me, I think this is probably the biggest thing I've ever done. And with this team, I watched Terrifier 2, and I have some friends that worked on that film. I loved that movie. I thought that movie was one of the best movies that came out the year that it was released. Really dug the film, thought it was light years better than the first. And when Spooky Spencer Madison over here actually reached out to me about Leah, I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. Just sort of continued to evolve and morph into what it became. And I really think that these two are going to have tremendous. I mean, if you watched the interview, you already saw it. They have tremendous chemistry already. And I feel like their performances are going to feel authentic to the story we're telling. So that is going to be the most exciting thing, is getting to work with all these different people, celebrities and all, but also, just our core cast, because we have a lot of talented people on this film, from behind the camera to in front of the camera. Everybody is just super talented and it seems like everyone is super pumped too. And everybody is really championing the project right now. So if you get people to care that much about your project before it's ever started, that's usually a good sign. Because I've had instances where people didn't care, so to have people involved that really care about this project just continues to make it better. And I am super stoked to get on set in however many weeks it is.
Yeah, I second that. I would say, like, I haven't met everybody in the cast yet, but between like Spooky and Dylan, who's playing Big Dan, and Kamara, who's playing Becca, I talk to them like almost every day. We're like constantly messaging or texting. And so like we're all getting to know each other already, even though like we haven't gotten to set yet. And I think that having that rapport ahead of time is going to really help and create just like this family environment, which is what, Terrifier felt like. And Terrifier is such a good example as like, the little indie film that could, and had such like a huge return on what they created, and it became this like monster of a film. And it shows that like it's a possibility to happen to other indie films as well. And I think that this film has the right material to kind of make that happen. But I'm just, here to enjoy the process. Whatever happens, I'm happy. I'm just happy to be here.
I'm really excited for it, just as a fan of all you guys, and as a fan of horror, especially independent horror. I'm definitely rooting for it. I have to ask, because you showed us the VHS of it, and I just have to geek out a little bit. E.T. is one of my favorite movies ever. I guess you could say I'm like a Spielberg stan, because you could see the Jaws poster right behind me. Jurassic Park's my favorite movie of all time. Actually, there's my Jurassic Park poster. But yeah, E.T. is a huge movie for like, and I'm sure a lot of people, but just kind of informing my tastes growing up and defining like what I like as a person. How did y'all get in touch with Dee Wallace?
Actually, before I ever got in touch with Dee Wallace, I was like, I would like Dee Wallace. And I made that known to a friend of mine who's actually a producer on this film. And it's so funny. I was actually driving. It was a long trip, and my phone kept ringing, and it was this producer friend. And I was like, I'm not answering it. Like, I'm not answering. And he actually tricked me. He said that it was one of the people from Terrifier 2 that I know that wanted to speak to me. So I was like, okay, well, I mean, if they're at that convention he was at. So I call him and he was like, "Hey, here they are." And he hands the phone and it's Dee. And she goes, "Tori, this is Dee Wallace. Where the hell are you at?" And I literally, my reaction was no way, because I knew it was her. I mean, I've loved Dee since I was a kid, and all she could do was just laugh at me. She laughed at me forever, and then she was like, Ken's telling me about the movie, and I hope everything works out. So that gave me a lot of hope, and I'm sure I vented to Spooky about it as well. But when the time came, and it took a lot of work. I'm not going to sugarcoat and act like it didn't. It did take a lot of work to get with her agent. But once she signed on, I mean, that was the first, like, okay, wow. Like, this is like, I'm manifesting the things that I wanted for this film. And so far, that's just continued to be, I don't know what everybody believes, but I'm a firm believer that fate sometimes can step in, and everything that I've wanted for this film, it's manifested. There was a time where I was like, I don't think we're going to make this film because I don't know if we're going to get the money. But the exact number that I said I would like to have for this film, we are now only $15,000 away from. So, I mean, it just continues to do that. So now that the money is there, it's like, okay, now we got a lot of work to do, and we got 2.5 months to do it. So everybody's like, it's all boots on the ground. Everyone's scrambled looking for locations. And I actually there's a freight truck on the way to my house right now with over 1,000 pounds of retail shelves for the video store.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So they're like, "Do you have a loading dock?" And I was like, no. They're like, "Well, you're going to need some people to help you unload this. We'll set it out, but it's on like what are those things called?
Pallet.
It's on like a big, like, palleted thing, and it's over 1,000 pounds. So that's on its way right now. So everyone is just doing everything. We've got location scouts like every day coming up, and we actually are shooting all of the movies within the movie the 1st of March. So we got that coming up as well. So it's just crazy right now, but it's so cool that it's actually going to happen. And that it's going to happen with the people who are attached to the film, because I think we're going to have to try really hard to make a shitty film, because I just feel like everyone we have involved is so good and so talented. I'm excited. I know I don't seem like I'm excited right now. It's because by this time every night, I'm like, all right, well, that was a fun day. but I literally am like, I'm so excited for this film. And I'm so excited to work with these two leads and to see what they bring to it. When Spencer and I'm sorry, Spencer, I know that I should call you Spooky, but it's just a habit. So when Spooky said you should make this a queer story, I thought about it. And then I thought about all my favorite horror films. And I just started looking at horror in general, and I was like, you know what? This is not something you see a lot of. And if you do see it, it's not really done well. But then I immediately was like, can I do this and it seem authentic? Because I'm the kind of person, like, I can't answer certain questions related to the LGBTQ community, nor should I. It's not my place to. So I will be relying a lot on these two wonderful performers to make sure that what's in the script comes across as real and doesn't seem forced. And if that means we change lines, great. If that means that we change scenes around to make it work, great, because it's trusting who I'm working with. And I'm huge on collaboration. I love collaboration. For me, and I sort of learned this because when I was younger, I would watch all of Rob Zombie's like making of stuff. And Rob said one time, he was like, the dialogue is never set in stone. He said it is in terms of like getting the point across, but if it doesn't feel normal, change it. Like say it how you would say it, that it does feel normal. So that's sort of, I've always done that. I worked with Spooky on my last film, and I think she can vouch for that. Like we sat down, and every time before we'd film a scene and we'd run through the scene, and if something felt weird, we'd be like, we need to change that. So I'm excited to do that with these guys and to bring this film to life.
Hell
That's
yeah.
gonna be awesome. I got a fun question for all of you guys.
I do want to add this.
Oh, sure,
the
sure.
fact that Leah and Spooky dug the script, I was like, I did something right. And not just me, but Jaren also. Jaren is an amazing writer. He is so amazing. I couldn't do it without him. Like at one point I had stayed up for 4 days and I was hallucinating, trying to figure something out. And I finally texted Jaren and I was like, dude, I need you to step in right here because I'm seeing weird things. And he did, and he's just, I can't say enough good things about him. But the fact that they dug it, I think, made me feel good because I was super worried about that. I was like, And then the pressure was like, I know Spooky personally, but I had to send the script to Leah, and I was like, if this feels fake to her, she's probably not going to do the film. So that was always in the back of my head too, but it all worked out. So I'm happy and I'm excited.
Yeah, I really think you did right by the characters. And I will say that, like, because you originally emailed me, and I think it was a couple weeks after is when you emailed me again. You said, actually, I'm going to hold off sending you the script because I'm rewriting it to have a clear storyline. I want you to be one half of that couple. Like my red flags kind of went up in my head. I was like, I've been in situations before where a straight male director will like want to add in queer storylines because it's like the trendy thing to do. So I went in like kind of apprehensive with it, which I think is like totally fair. But my experience this time has been so wildly different than those other experiences. And it is because like you are listening to us and you're never telling us what's what. You're always defaulting to like what to our experiences, like our lived experiences. And I think that that's really important. And so, yeah, I commend you for that. Absolutely. Like, Spooky, I've said this to you, but you're an icon for bringing this to Tory. And then Tory, you're incredible for listening to it. And yeah, making that choice, I think is awesome. And I do think that the characters felt really authentic. And yeah, you did a really great job for it and quelled all of the fears that I had kind of going into it. Once I read the script, I was fully sold.
Well, I was trepidatious because I didn't know if I could do it and make it believable. But then at the same point in time, I was like, well, all my other films are this, and we see a lot of this. So do I really want to do this again? So that's when I was like, well, if you're trying to do something different and you're trying to make this its own thing, then you need to not do the things that you've done in the past.
Yeah.
I thought about, I don't remember, Spooky, if you remember how long it was that it took me to make the decision. I know it was at least a week because I did think about it for a while, and then I was like, let's do this. Like,
I mean, honestly, I think that I had hinted at it. I had joked about it before because I didn't like the choices that you were giving me for a love interest. And then I was like, well, we could just make her queer. And then you were like, haha, whatever. And then it actually literally, but then I followed Leah's production company and I was like, oh my God, duh. So that's when I think it was after I like handed you like hard evidence. I was like, listen, this is going to work out.
Yeah.
And then it was not very long after that. You were like, okay, yeah, no, this makes sense to me.
And ultimately the right decision.
I agree. Yeah.
Right decision. And it just seems like everything just has lined up from that point with the film and continues to line up. So destiny, fate, whatever people want to believe, I believe that we are absolutely on track to do what we're supposed to do.
I agree.
That's so exciting. And I think it's a testament to the power of collaboration too.
Yeah.
Because you can already tell it's such a team effort that everyone, well, all three of you, and I know it extends to everyone else, but you guys are so excited about this material. You guys are passionate about it, and it's coming through right now in this little podcast. I know it will come through in the actual film. So I'm very excited for that.
So are we.
I got a fun little question for each of you. I'm assuming a big chunk of this film takes place in a video store. I know that all of us here talking at this moment that the people are listening to, we grew up with VHSs around and going to video stores. What are your guys' like when you go into your mind's eyes and you reminisce about those trips? Do you remember what video like VHS covers? Because I have a few that like gave me nightmares or they piqued my interest, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So whoever wants to go first, I'll throw the ball up.
I'll go. Yeah. I I was never scared of horror movies, but I was always really confused as to why Little Monsters was in the comedy section because that movie disturbed me. I was so creeped out by that whole concept, but I was obsessed with it. I think every time I went to Blockbuster, I got Little Monsters, but I hated that it was in the comedy section. It bothered me.
I need to look up what Little Monsters is for a second.
It
Little
has Fred
Monsters.
Savage and Howie Mandel in it, and it's
I have
about
I have a
this
copy for
little.
the store.
Oh my
no, this
God,
isn't
that's
the movie I'm thinking
amazing.
of.
Yeah.
No,
Amazing.
I have like a very vivid memory. Like the Blockbuster that I would go to as a kid, I can visualize it. Like I see it in my eye. I've been in it so many times. But I remember one time when I was super young, and I was really scared of horror movies, really, really scared of them. I'm not really sure what changed it, but I remember going into the video store and there was a new Chucky movie that was coming out. And so they had a Chucky cutout, and my friend and we were with her dad, and he was going in to get a movie, and we wouldn't go in the store because we were so scared that Chucky was there. And I remember we were outside and she'd be like, okay, I'm going in. And then she'd come running out. She's like, I can't do it. I'd be like, I'll run in. I got it. I'm going in. And then I'd run in and I'd see the Chucky. And I'm like, nope, I'm not doing it. And I'd like run back out.
That's so funny. I remember, so for me, like that's where I spent most of my time was the video stores. And this was like pre Blockbuster. The nearest Blockbuster was kind of far away. So it was the mom and pop video stores. And I could like Leah said, I can still smell them. I can see them. The ones I went to always smelled like popcorn, cigarettes, and tanning lotion. Because there was tanning beds in the back for some reason. It's like, hey, come rent a movie, and while you're here, go tan.
I was about to say, you lost me with the tanning beds, the popcorn and the cigarettes. I'm like, yes. I'm like, tanning beds?
Yeah, it was crazy. I would be like, okay, well, so that was always the thing. And it's funny because my aunt she would go to lay to the tanning bed and I would go with her. But as far as like the artwork, there was so many. I can remember like seeing Candyman and seeing Night of the Demons 2. That was one I can remember vividly. I can remember that one. I can remember, I think it was Sleepaway Camp 2, the one with Felissa, and she had like the Freddy glove and the Jason mask and all that in the backpack. I can remember that one. So all of that, I was just enamored with it. And then for whatever reason, my dad decided when I was 5 that he would take me to the theaters to see Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight, which didn't end well. But my dad sort of cultivated my love for like Cujo was one of the first movies he showed me. And I was hooked. I was hooked because I was scared and the way it made me feel, and it gave me that it's the same reason people ride roller coasters.
Yeah.
And it's the thrill. It's going on the ride with the film. I'm not an exploitative filmmaker. I believe if something's in your film, there should be a reason for it. That's just me. I'm not I mean, I do watch other stuff that's not. So I literally grew up watching old school 80s horror movies, pretty much. Halloween, the be all end all for me, which I feel like everyone says that now. But I can tell you, I loved Halloween. It never scared me, but I can tell you the movie that probably scared me the most as a kid, and that was Leprechaun. Scared the crap out of me. We had this conversation on Phantom Fun World, and I told them, I was like, there's 3 movies that really I have trauma from. And I don't know, like, I still dream about the Leprechaun. Like my wife, like she'll say I'll like wake up screaming and I'm fighting a leprechaun in the middle of the night. But Leprechaun is one, and then Jaws. Like I still can't get in the ocean because of Jaws.
For me, it was the Jaws ride. I've actually never seen the movie, but I went on the Jaws ride at Universal, and I can still see that freaking shark in the water, and I was like screaming my head off. So I feel you on that one.
You never saw Jaws?
No, because I was so young when we went on that ride, and I was like, absolutely not. But all the time, that's Damien Leone, the director of Terrifier's favorite movie. So he always gets on me that I've never seen it.
And then Jeepers Creepers, for whatever reason, just stuck with me.
That's a creepy movie.
Yeah, the first one for sure, very creepy. But yeah, I just loved horror. I love all the different stages that horror has went through and the transformations, and now everyone's sort of into A24, and some of it I like. I really liked Midsummer, and I really liked The Witch. I thought The Witch was great. So yeah, I love movies in general. Like I went and watched The Little Mermaid with my kids, I was like, this is great. So I just love movies. To me, that has always been my favorite thing. And even as a kid, like I had a camcorder, I was making backyard movies all the time. We were swinging off like grapevines and like thinking we were action stars. So it's always been the thing. Now I just get to do it on a bigger level with awesome, talented people. And if you would have told 12-year-old me that I would be working with people like Dee Wallace or Tommy Lee Wallace or Richie Ramone, I'd be like, no, that's not gonna happen.
That's not happening.
It's not gonna happen.
Agreed.
And I mean, Leah's in arguably one of the biggest horror success stories, of the last, God, it's even longer than a decade. I would say that
Yeah.
Terrifier is probably like quarter of a century, one of the biggest horror films in terms of establishing a new character. How many people try? Like to try, and me too, like that's what I'm trying to do, is establish a character. And nothing against all the old guys, I still love them. I'll see them in space, I'll see them wherever. But we need new characters to root for. We need a new Laurie Strode. We need a new villain. And what does that look like in 2024? It's not going to look the same as it did in the 70s.
Right.
So I think that the potential with that in this film is there. That is some of those tropes there, yes, but they're not exactly the same. And everything is updated to the time we live in, even though it takes place in the 90s, which makes no sense. But
just the best decade. So
it is the best decade.
Well, I got a little theory about that, because the 90s, I'm dating us, I'm sorry. The 90s was 30 years ago. Like that Jurassic Park poster behind me says 30th anniversary. I feel like every 30 years there's this cycle, and you can really see it in the 80s, but there's a cycle of nostalgia for what was essentially 30 years ago. Right now we're hitting this 90s nostalgia, but the past decade, I think we were really into the 80s, and you see stuff like Stranger Things and It, and those are very modern movies and TV shows, but there's a love for the 80s. The 2000s, we see remakes of Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Halloween and Black Christmas. And I think there's like this big love for the 70s in the 2000s. 90s, it's the 60s. The 80s loves the 50s. I mean, Back to the Future, there's remakes of The Fly, The Thing, From Another World had a big remake. The Blob had a remake in the 80s. Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Well, that's 78, but that's basically the 80s. What I guess I'm trying to say, but like Back to the Future has this infatuation with the 50s, but that's a very modern 80s movie. All that to say, by putting your film in the 90s, you're saying something really modern, but there's, I don't know, that kind of nostalgia to it as well.
Yep. And I'm excited about that, because what we were talking about earlier with the video store, like for me, if I could bring back one thing from the past, it would be the way it was then. Because I can remember rushing to the video store, calling, aggravating them all the time. Has this come in yet? This is supposed to be out today. And it was always horror movies. And being able to go and look for movies and spend time there and rent, whereas now it's just like I can access anything, which I guess in some ways is cool, but I just miss that. So if I could bring that back, if I'm going to make a movie, what would be cool to do? So there's a lot in this film that's from my childhood that's just in there. And I wanted this film to be very personal for me. And it is in a lot of ways. It's a very personal film. I'm the kind of person that's just like, let's just do it. Whereas my producers, we were having a meeting, was it last night? I can't remember, but we were talking about the 90s thing. So that was a great idea on paper. But now we have to find vehicles. The wardrobe department has to, I mean, everything has to feel real to the time.
Yeah.
The main reason I did it, besides growing up there, is because we don't have any of this. Like I can, now if a killer come in my house, I could just, Siri, call 911 and I'm good. But back then you didn't have that option.
Yeah.
Right.
So everything was much more pure, if that makes sense. It was much more pure back then. The horror was much more tangible. Whereas now, with technology, I mean, if you can't survive a horror film now, then
your phone died.
Yeah, your phone died, right?
Yeah. And the phone's not the only thing dying, if that's the case.
Yep.
I'm sure as you guys do more press for this film, you're probably going to be asked this question a lot. So I'm going to ask it first, so everyone's following my trend, and I'll go around. What is your favorite 90s horror movie? Or the one that comes to mind? Yeah, I don't know. It's a hard question.
I mean, I don't know when things came out. I don't know the year that things came out, so I don't know, man.
That's fair.
I have no idea. I don't.
Scream.
Yeah, I was
Scream.
gonna
I guess
say
that came out in the
1995.
90s.
1995 Scream. Yeah.
I mean,
I only saw Scream this year for the first time.
Did you like it?
I did. I actually did like it.
Spooky, we can't work with her.
Hey, listen. I'm real. I'm not gonna pretend like I've seen every horror movie out there. I will say I am a horror fan, but I don't know when things came out. Talk to me about the Lord of the Rings. That's a different situation, but I'm a fantasy gal.
I think Scream's a very acceptable answer. I'm literally wearing a Ghostface shirt right now, so I'm a fan.
You have a mask
as
behind
well.
you.
Oh shit! Yeah,
Yeah.
I forgot
think you
about
like Scream, yeah.
Sometimes I surprise myself. No.
I mean, I could tell you every horror movie that came out in the 90s because they're all, stacked in my house right now. So
if you start naming someone,
not
will
fair.
probably come to mind. But
I mean,
Well,
like I said, Leprechaun came out in the 90s.
Yeah.
That was.
I never saw that.
You need to watch that, but you'll never be the same if you do.
Oh my
I'm
God,
gonna-
Jennifer Aniston is so hot in that movie.
Oh, Jennifer Aniston's in it? Sold.
Mhm.
I like her.
It was her first movie, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, that's cool.
I'm gonna shout out Candyman because that's a 90s horror movie, and I love
Mhm.
Candyman.
I
That
actually almost
movie-
watched that last night and then I didn't.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
And
Signs
then-
of the Lambs came out in Misery. It's got to be Misery.
Oh yeah, both of those.
I
films.
looked it up online. I'm like 90s horror movies. Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge Stephen King fan. More of his books than the movie adaptations. So
sure.
yeah, anything from Stephen King I love.
But yeah, Misery is one of my favorite King adaptations for sure. James Caan, Kathy Bates.
Oh,
Ah,
but I mean, the book is better. I will say the book is. I've never had like a visceral reaction to a book like I did Misery. And they did some things different in the movie, but I still thought it was an incredible adaptation.
I'll have to read that.
You gotta. It's so good.
I think Stephen King is just timeless.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what he writes. It applies to the time you're living in.
Well, even his book, The Stand, he's re-released it twice. And each time he re-releases it, he updates it to the time period he's releasing it in. So I can't remember when he originally released it, but I know the most recent release of it was the 90s. And they updated it to like be in the 90s, which I thought was really cool. So yeah, it shows that he's timeless because he's just like, oh, we'll just change the time period and it still works.
Yeah. I loved if I could get obviously we talked about Cujo earlier. If I could get the rights to any film to do, it would be Cujo.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be
such an incredible film.
That would be an insane challenge too.
Right. And I would not do CGI dogs, by the way. I would not. Yeah.
Good.
No.
Real dogs.
Real dogs. Right.
I mean, that's what they did. I mean, they used everything though. Puppets, a guy in a suit at one point, which I've seen the behind the scenes picture of the guy in the suit, but I can't tell which shot it is in the movie. So I think they pulled it off really well.
Yeah. Yep.
That would be, and I think that's a film that, or a concept at least, that I think you could adapt it in today's age really well. I think there's a adaptation for that for the now.
I'm excited for the Salem's Lot movie that they made with Pullman's son, Bill Pullman's son. What's his name? Lewis? Is it Lewis Pullman?
Yeah, that's another book that really could be any decade. It's just about a town, like you could just update so much about it and you could literally happen. I mean, yeah, it's a vampire story. It could happen anytime. I read that this year.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm surprised I don't have any Stephen King books back here. I have so many. I don't know why there's none behind me, but
I could talk about Stephen King forever, but I don't want to keep you guys here, so I'll move on very reluctantly. Uh, I do want to ask, and I think Tori, you've touched on this a bit, but I want to go around because I think it's really important to not just this show, but to a lot of people who listen to it. And like you mentioned earlier, that your film analyzes like the one of the themes is like what is horror, and we talked like why do we love horror? It's like a roller coaster and stuff like that. But for each of you guys, what is like your personal relationship with horror? What does it mean to you?
One of you want to start?
Well, I think it's the perfect date movie for sure. I feel like that's had to have been what got me into horror, was like, it's just like the perfect thing to watch if you're like on a date. Like, I looked this up so much and I don't really have like a good answer. I feel like Tori, you said something good about it, about it's like the adrenaline, but I'm like, what is it that makes people like horror movies? And I'm always so stumped by it, even though like I myself do love horror movies, though as I said, it's not my favorite genre. That would be fantasy, but you know, I'm always so drawn towards watching them. And it's, yeah, I really think it is that adrenaline aspect of it. And then also like the concept of your podcast, like watching a movie and being like, would I live? Would I die if I was in that movie? I think is really fun to theorize. Yeah, I think it's the perfect movie to like, it's the perfect genre to sort of like bring people together and start a lot of conversations. And I think it's a genre where you can tie genres together. Like horror goes so well with comedy and, you know, things like that. And then you have psychological horror and body horror. There's like so many different subgenres of it. And I think it's super versatile. And obviously the fans are the freaking best for horror.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that for me, when I was younger, I had a lot of trouble connecting with like other humans for some reason. And well, anyway, and I I just like couldn't understand decisions that people were making. And when I saw Scream, I think Scream and Nightmare on Elm Street was the first horror movie that I've ever watched. And it was the decisions that they were making and the relationships between these characters and like how trauma or bad situations can either like make or break a relationship, not just a romantic relationship, but a friendship or between a mother and a daughter. And I don't know, it helped me, I think, compartmentalize emotions, honestly. It helped me like know when you're scared, you scream or you cry or you go to your mom, you know? And I think that it was really helpful for me as a child. And I was never really super scared from horror, but there was one scene in Scream where it was Rose McGowan and she's in the garage and she's crawling through the garage door, the cat door, and the garage door goes up and it just like crushes her body. But her body, the practical effects was made of like rubber or something. So she was like all like floppy and limp. And it was the most terrifying thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And honestly, I think that was such a pivotal moment for me in horror. But I think that's why I loved it so much, was like all of the emotions that it taught me how to emote, but also all the emotions that I was able to feel like when I was watching it. So
that's a great answer.
And I think that question is something that we ask in this film, and everyone has a different answer. Like throughout the film, as all of this stuff is going on, and you have the love issues and the relationship issues, and you have the killer, and you have all this other stuff, the whole way through, we're still just talking about movies. Like her character, Spooky's character Quinn, like in her eyes, horror has something to say. It's best. And in her grandmother's eyes, played by Dee, people need to shut up and eat their popcorn. So, and then Big Dan, he represents that part of the audience that's like, boobs, yeah, you know, he's that guy. And everybody else is just kind of like, this guy. And, you know, so every character has a different outlook on horror movies. The character of Heather, played by Raleigh, she's not even kind of into it.
I feel like I'm a bit snobby too. I'm a little bit of a purist. My character.
Yeah,
not me, Max.
Yeah.
Max is like a little snobby when it comes to horror, where it's kind of like her way of thinking is like, you know, she fights with Dan a lot of like what's the best the best horror films and stuff like that.
Right. And you know, there's a difference because there's a scene in the film where they're picking out movies to watch for their movie marathon. And Big Dan pulls out one called Don't F in Space. And then everybody else is like, we're not watching that. So when they do watch it, because they do watch it, there's this commentary going on, and Max, I think she even goes outside to like smoke.
Yeah, I'm
or
like
something.
done with it. I'm like, this movie sucks.
So she goes outside to smoke, and like it's just stuff like that. And honestly, so we're asking that question throughout the whole thing. And I think for me, horror, and I've had people like think that I'm a psycho or whatever because I love horror movies. And you know, for me, horror was that escape growing up from whatever crappy stuff was going on in my life. I could sit down in front of a horror movie and it was cathartic in some ways. And then, you know, I feel like horror is the genre that literally you can talk about anything. You can touch on any issue. And I did a panel actually at Horror Hound in Indianapolis when we had our world premiere, and it was social commentary in film, like in horror. And this was before that we had decided to even do the whole LGBTQ storyline in this film. And I remember saying then, I was like, you know, horror is that one genre where you can literally touch on any social issue or any kind of issue. Like this is not a political movie by any means. We're not commenting on the chaos of politics. We're just basically saying like, you know, this is a human story.
Yeah.
And this is not a boy-girl human story. This is a girl human story. And if you check out on that, then it ain't for you. But there's a whole lot of people who probably want to see more of that and probably need to hear more of that to help them, number one, with their identity, number two, overcome the things that maybe Quinn's overcoming in this. And I think through these two characters, what you will see in the film is, I suspect, if it's done correctly and we do it right, that there's going to be a whole lot of people who love Max and Quinn. And they're going to be the new, I don't want to say final girls, but they're going to be the new like it couple that people are going to be like, I want to see more of them. And then they give us lots of money and we make a sequel. So
yeah.
Bring the band back together.
Yeah.
Or the ones that survive at least.
Yeah.
It is it is a horror movie. It is a slasher, so
right.
Gotta have someone die.
So I mean, do you all agree with that? Do you all feel like that with these characters? Leah
I fully agree with that. And like, I can say from doing the conventions this year, I've mentioned this a few times, like to both of you, but getting to go to these conventions all year, the one that really, really sticks out to me and I think about all the time, and it wasn't just me, it was Jenna Cannell and Catherine Corcoran from Terrifier 1. The three of us did a panel at the Silver Scream Con in Danvers, Massachusetts. And we didn't talk about Terrifier because it was during the strike. So the moderator was like really respectful of that and just kind of wanted to ask us general questions about our careers and see where the conversation led. And the whole panel turned out to be about queer representation. And we all three of us said that for the rest of the weekend, we had never, and all the panels that we'd done all year, and the two of them who have done way more than me through the years that they've been, in genre films, we had never had so many people come up to us and thank us for the panel that we did and, say that like what we said spoke to them, and not just LGBT people, but hetero people as well, that were saying that like they got a lot of insight from what we were talking about. And that's my mission at Late Bloomer Pictures is, we want to tell queer stories outside of coming out stories. And yeah, that panel really showed me that not only is the audience there, but like you can change people's lives with characters and with films and with storytelling. And there's going to be a kid who watches this film and 20 years from now is going to say like, that was the moment I knew, that was the character I connected with, and that changed my life and taught me something about myself. Like, I just know that that's going to happen. And I think that's really special.
I am so excited for you guys. I'm so excited to see this film. And I just know deep down that I think this film is going to be really special to a lot of people who end up seeing it. And I'm manifesting your guys' success for you. I'm sending you the positive vibes that you guys have a great shoot and an even better release. And I'm just so excited because Tori, you and I are just meeting for the first time right now, But Leah, we've been friends for a little bit.
Mhm.
Spooky, we've worked together. We're friends. And I know you guys work so hard. You guys put in the blood, sweat, and tears. I was gonna say so to speak, but with horror, it is literal.
Literally.
Right.
And I just think it's inspiring and wonderful. And for everyone listening, you guys can help out still because the Indiegogo is still going on. Do one of you guys want to kind of just walk us through that a little bit?
That's
I feel
probably
like this.
Tory.
No, I feel like this is a spooky one. Yeah.
Well, I have one thing to say. I will
Sure.
say that right now, the screen worn costumes are up for bid, and I will say mine has been bought already. But D Wallace's is still available.
Oh my
Melissa
God, it
Rose's is still
starts.
available. But I was like, wow, mine has been bought and theirs hasn't. I felt that gave me a little chip on my shoulder, I will say. So that's all I have to say about the Indiegogo.
What Leah said a minute ago kind of made me a little bit emotional. So,
Same, actually.
yeah. So I mean,
Aw.
that some kid could see this movie and it changed their life. Here's what I will say. On my last film, it was a difficult shoot. It's difficult for a lot of reasons. But when I come out of that shoot, one of the best things about that shoot was that I became super close to Spooky and we just hit it off right away. I consider her one of my closest friends. We bitch and complain about stuff to each other all the time. And like she said, it's a safe space. She knows sort of some of my stuff and I know some of her stuff. And for me, that is the best thing about all of this is forming those relationships. So, as close as I am to her, I hope to get close to Leah and I hope to get close to the other people that I'm working with because I feel like we got a really great group of people who they're all excited about the project and they're keeping the main thing, which is the project. And it's not about their IMDb credits or it's not about all the other stuff that some people make it. I mean, it's literally about the movie.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited just to get through all the chaos right now that's going on with pre-production, to get on set and just be able to be like, oh, we're here. We did it somehow, some way. We got the money. We're here. All of these awesome people are here. And now let's make a movie that changes people's lives, like Leah said. So hopefully that's what we're able to do.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, there is such a genuine group of people involved in the making of this movie that, like Tori said earlier, it's going to be really, really hard to make a bad movie out of this.
Yeah.
It really is. We have a phenomenal script. We have an amazing DP, Cody Newton. We have an amazing special effects artist, Cody. How do you say his last name? Rook?
Ruck, like Rook, but Ruck. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. He worked on Phantom Fun World with us, and I'll tell you what, the wounds that he put on me in Phantom Fun World did not come off. And I had to go to an eyelash appointment the day after shooting and get a refill. And my lash technician was like, girl, what have you been into? I was like, you don't want to know. Lots of things. But we have such a genuine group of people involved. And there's not one of us that is in it for the wrong reasons. We all just want to make good content. We want to make it with good people. And this is going to be one of hopefully many movies that I'm personally involved in where that is what it is. We want to make good stuff with good people.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a great time. I'm really excited. And it's only 2.5 months? It's going to fly by.
It's going to fly by. It's literally going to be, it's going to be tomorrow. We're going to wake up and it's going to be time.
Yeah.
I can't say enough how excited I am for it. I'm going to be not in an annoying way, or maybe, I don't know, but I'll be messaging you guys, asking for updates. Like, have you guys started yet? How's it going? Like, I'm so excited and I can't wait. I can't wait to see what comes. And I know filmmaking is a long time, so I'm going to be patient, but at the same time, I'm really excited. And yeah, I think everyone listening, you guys should be excited too. So
yeah, go check out our Indiegogo. I don't know, I stuttered. Go check out our Indiegogo. There's a lot of cool perks, a lot of fun ways to get involved and help us bring it to life.
And I contributed, so everyone listening, you do too. This is pure pressure. peer pressure for the listeners.
We love peer pressure.
We actually, I do. Jeez. I do want to mention just there is a perk that is going away in 2 weeks. And that big perk is actually you can be in a scene with Leah, Felissa, Spencer, Spooky. Who else is in that scene? Felissa and another one who's not been announced yet. So there's 4 in that scene, 4 horror stars in that scene. Chaney's in that scene as well. So there's a lot of, I guess that would be 5. So yeah, but that's going away in 2 weeks. So if you want to be on set for a whole night with all these awesome people and watch them work and learn from them, because that's the cool thing for me too, is learning from everyone I work with, grab that perk because it's going away in 2 weeks. So this is the last 2 weeks of that perk.
You guys heard it here. Now's the time. So it's gonna rock. Pun intended, you guys are going to kill it. Where can people follow updates for The Boy from Below and you guys individually as well?
I'm on Instagram, The Goodbye Ghoul. It's kind of a play on The Goodbye Girl. And look up my IMDb, Spooky Madison, to stay, up to date on that. The Boy from Below has, Indiegogo.com/boy _ whatever below.
Boy
Whatever.
the below from. That's it.
Boy the Below movie.
Yeah, and I'm at Leah Voysey on Instagram and YouTube. I post 2 YouTube videos a week, and a lot of them are horror related. So if you like horror content, follow me on YouTube.
And you can find me on OnlyFans at
Ooh, nice.
Small. No, I'm just kidding.
Who knew?
No, I'm just kidding. I'm on Instagram. I pretty much only use Facebook to talk about film stuff, but I'm on Facebook and Instagram at official Tory Jones, and then The Boy from Below has a Facebook page, Instagram, no underscores, Spooky, and what else do we
Also
have?
it's at Boy from Below.
Yeah, know the.
And
then
Boy from Below, BFB.
And then we're on Threads, whatever that is. I think there's a Threads, and there's a group which if you join the group, we post that's first come, you get to see everything first. Like if you're part of that group, you get first behind the scenes looks to everything that we'll be doing. Videos from set with celebrities and all these cool cats that are in this film. So that's pretty much it.
Awesome. This has been so much fun. And yeah, I'm just sending the good vibes. I'm just sending all the positive energies because I'm so excited for this film. And I'm really excited to see what you guys do with it.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yep. Thank you for having us on. I'm excited. And hopefully the next time we talk, we've made this movie. We can talk about how awesome it was to make.
Yes. We'll be crying.
Oh, yeah.
It was so hard.
You guys heard it here first. Boy from Below, Would You Die crossover round 2 when this film releases.
Yes.